Educators wear many hats. They have to be teachers, mentors, motivators, and much more. They do a lot to reach students. But what if the educator isn't reaching the student, especially because of cultural issues? As an educator, we all know that parent engagement is detrimental to student success. The more involved the parent is, the better the student does academically. But what does parent engagement look like from the educator's point of view? How do we define parent engagement? Well, one way to define parent engagement/involvement is a combination of commitment and participation on the part of the parent. This can look like parents attending school functions, parents starting academic clubs and after-school clubs, or simply parents volunteering. Some parents are willing to engage in school functions, while others are more reluctant. The latter could be because of the lack of communication. Some parents may not know how to get involved because of lack of communication on behalf of the school. Others may face culture issues. In fact, both students and parents may feel like the school doesn't respect or include their culture or values. This illustrates the issues of cultural insensitivity. But what is cultural insensitivity, and how does it affect students, teachers, and families? Cultural insensitivity is defined as educators not including cultural relevant material in the teaching process. It also refers to the ignorance of educators to acknowledge cultural differences or similarities. Issues of cultural insensitivity continue to impact our students in a negative fashion. Students often feel neglected and not special. Now, let's take a look at some examples of cultural insensitivity in the classroom. Pretend like it's the 5th of May or Cinco de Mayo. Now, many Latin students would be excited to hear part of their history. And instead of aligning a history lesson towards Cinco de Mayo, let's say a social studies teacher fails to address this issue or fails to address Cinco de Mayo in the classroom, period, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally. Another example, when teaching a history lesson on the Industrial Revolution, the history teacher fails to mention inventors of other ethnicities or cultures. As an educator, are you familiar with cultural insensitivity? Are you familiar with what it entails? What does it look like? Have you seen it before? As an educator, one of our biggest jobs is to become a cultural, responsible teacher. So, what are some best practices to become a culturally responsible educator? Well, let's take a look at some of them. First and foremost, get to know your students and take an active interest in their culture and values. Have informative conversations with them. Also, be sure to educate yourself on different cultures and histories. Include teaching materials that is culturally relevant and unbiased. Display multicultural materials inside your classroom. Reach out to the community you serve and get to know families of other cultures. Hopefully, you're a little bit more informed on the problems dealing with cultural insensitivity in the classroom. And now that you have some tips, go ahead and utilize them. Be the best educator you can.